If you go to Reddit, to GameFAQs, or to any of those shitty fanboy fanatic sites and search or ask for this question: what is the best version of Dragon Quest VIII? What is the best version of Dragon Quest XI? The answers you're going to receive are that the best version of these two games, of Dragon Quest XI and Dragon Quest VIII, is the Dragon Quest XI's version, or the Switch version, the Dragon Quest VIII 3DS version. The fanatics are going to convince you that these are the definitive ways of playing these games. They are not even for a second think that you may care about knowing the whole truth about these versions. They don't even give you a chance to understand what these versions did to those games, to the original version of those games. The fact of the matter is that the version of Dragon Quest XI, Dragon Quest XI's, and Dragon Quest VIII, the 3DS version, are downgrades. They are graphical downgrades. The soundtrack is downgraded too. But these fanatics make you believe that that is not important, and even more egregious is the fact that they will pretend that the downgrade is not significant enough. They will come to you and say that the definitive versions have a ton of extra content, and that alone is worth the downgrade. And like I said, they are going to minimize the impact and the length of this downgrade. I have played the Dragon Quest XI's version from start to finish, and I can tell you that the extra content, most of the extra content, is just bloat. They bloated the stupid game. Now, there are some additions that are welcome, like the fact that your party actually follows you around, but in my opinion, that is not worth the whole graphical downgrade. On the original version, you could get the orchestrated music, so you don't need the S version if you care about the graphic fidelity of the game. Now, the Dragon Quest XI's version, it's a significant downgrade, graphical downgrade, but it still looks decent enough. I can understand why some people maybe prefer the bloat of the S version, because I got tired of that stupid bloat on the mid game. It was fucking trash. But what they did to Dragon Quest VIII, it's an abomination. What they did to Dragon Quest VIII, the 3DS version, is nothing short of a fucking travesty. And whoever says that Dragon Quest VIII, the 3DS version, looks almost the same, that person is an evil piece of shit. There is no other way to say it. Because the downgrade from Dragon Quest VIII on the PS2 to the 3DS version is huge. It's fucking huge. The extra content on the 3DS version is pretty decent most of the time. It's not bloat like in Dragon Quest XI. I think the most relevant content of the 3DS version is the fact that you can choose to marry Jessica. Many people like that. I think that's fair. The overworld encounters, it's hit or miss. It depends on how you like your RPGs. But the graphical downgrade and the soundtrack downgrade is huge. The 3DS version is inferior to the PS2 version graphically and in the soundtrack, but the fanatics pretend that is not the case, and they immediately pigeonhole everyone to play these quote-unquote definitive versions. What they did to the Dragon Quest VIII game, what they did to that game, is a fucking insult to the game, because the graphics of the game, the soundtrack of the game, were part of what made Dragon Quest VIII a great game. They are removing part of its charm. And why? Because fuck you, give me money. That is why. Same thing they did to Dragon Quest XI's. But like I said, the difference in graphics from the Dragon Quest XI original release and the Dragon Quest XI's version are significant, but not as impactful as the difference from Dragon Quest VIII on the PS2 and Dragon Quest VIII on the 3DS. Now, I can understand that some people, maybe they don't care about the graphics. Maybe they just want a more complete version when they talk about the content in the game. Even though, like I said, the XI's version is full of bloat. Meaningless bloat. But anyway, I can accept and respect that if you admit that you're playing an inferior downgraded version, graphically inferior and downgraded version of the game. If you admit that, I have no problem with you. My problem is with the stupid fanatics, the evil pieces of fucking shit that keep pretending that the quote-unquote definitive versions are 100% better than the original releases. Those are the people that I have a problem with. Lying, evil scumbags. Fanatics. These pieces of shit are going to say to you that I am a graphics whore. You're just a graphics whore. You only care about the graphics. And that is nothing further from the truth. And I am going to explain you why. And why these people are a bunch of hypocrites, fanatics, evil pieces of shit that you shouldn't even listen to. Let's talk about Dragon Quest VII. I am playing Dragon Quest VII again, the original PS1 release. And to this day, in my opinion, the Dragon Quest VII PS1 version is the best version of the game. In my opinion, it's the best version of Dragon Quest VII. There is a demake on the 3DS version, which fucked up the entire vocation system that already removed content from the original release and made it more quote-unquote accessible for retards, for low IQs. So I am not going to say to you that the 3DS version of Dragon Quest VII is the best version just because it has better graphics. So like I said, these people are hypocrites because they're going to say to you that the PS1 version of Dragon Quest VII looks like shit, that they prefer the 3DS version because of the graphics, because the PS1 looks outdated. It's one of the arguments they used to defend the remake of Dragon Quest VII, the 3DS version. All of a sudden, graphics do matter again. But when you try to talk about the graphics on the downgrades of Dragon Quest XI and Dragon Quest VIII, you're a graphics whore, and graphics shouldn't matter. You see how these pieces of shit operate? There is a new remake of Dragon Quest VII that is coming out next year on February 5, and I am going to play that stupid remake. And if it's a piece of shit, I am going to destroy it. I am already saving clips, my gameplay from the original Dragon Quest VII PS1 release, and I am going to show everyone why that remake is inferior to the original release. Everything that they changed, everything that they removed, I am going to expose it. And I don't give a shit if the new game, if their new remake has better graphics. I couldn't care less. If you think about the way they operate, Dragon Quest XI was released 3 times. The original release, the 3DS version release, and then the S version release. So the game was released 3 times. If you think about Dragon Quest VIII, the game was released 2 times or 3 times if you want to count the mobile version of the game, which funnily enough looks much better than the 3DS version of the game, if you can even believe that shit. Nintendo, as always, holding games back, and companies like SquareEnix accepting money from Nintendo to downgrade and destroy their own games. They don't give a shit about their games, and certainly they don't give a shit about their audience. They only care about money. So imagine if all of a sudden we get a new version that includes everything from all the different releases, let's say of Dragon Quest VIII. You get a better graphical version of Dragon Quest VIII with the addition of the elements of Dragon Quest VIII on the 3DS version. That sounds good, right? Well, it sounds good for them too, because that way they get to sell you the game again with minimal effort. And that is what these companies like to do, to re-release the same fucking games over and over and over again. And they know fanatics, piece of shit fanatics like you are going to buy them. One of these stupid companies is Atlus, that keeps doing their definitive versions of games, and they sell them full price again and again and again, and people buy them. All of those Persona and Shin Megami Tensei games they do, that 2 years down the road they re-release the same game with more content, and then they sell to you the same game again with certain additions instead of just doing a DLC. No, they have to sell you the fucking entire game again, and you stupid NPCs, consumers, buy it. Fortunately, apparently, Atlus already figured it out that a lot of people are skipping their day one releases because they know that down the road a much better version of that game is going to be released, so people are just waiting, like they should, because people need to teach these bitch companies a lesson. So what can we expect to happen when these bitches, if they even release one day Dragon Quest 12, what can we expect? We can expect the same treatment. They are going to release Dragon Quest 12, and what they are going to do? They are going to re-release Dragon Quest 12 for the Switch 2 with the graphical downgrade. We can only hope that this time SquareEnix releases the game on all platforms, including the Switch 2, in one go, because if not, fuck, prepare for another downgrade. And this time around, I hope you stupid morons actually keep your copies, your illegal copies of Dragon Quest 12, because I tried to download the illegal version of Dragon Quest 11, the original version, the standard version, and it doesn't run anymore. The crack is outdated. You can't play the original Dragon Quest 11 legally or illegally anymore. You can't. They essentially stole that version from us until some cracker does the whole crack again. Other than that, we are stuck with the fucking S for shit version of Dragon Quest 11. We are stuck with the shit version. Fortunately for me, I hate Dragon Quest 11, so it doesn't affect me. Piece of shit game. I already explained why I hate that fucking game on my previous video. But Dragon Quest 8, that actually hurts, knowing that there is no definitive version of the game. If you want the better graphics, you have to stick to the PS2 version or the mobile version and download the remaster mode for the mobile version of the game. But if you want to play the version with more content, or if you hate random encounters, you're stuck with that fucking shit downgrade that looks like fucking shit. You're stuck with that piece of shit version. I believe that Dragon Quest 8 is the next re-release they are going to do. Eventually they are going to do it, and I think it's the next game they are going to release. This is why they jumped to Dragon Quest 7, and hopefully we can now have an actual definitive version of Dragon Quest 8. Hopefully, who the fuck knows. But to answer you honestly the question, what is the best version of Dragon Quest 11 and Dragon Quest 8? It depends on what you care about. I am going to tell you my opinion. In my opinion, the original versions are the best ones, because they preserve the charm of the original games. Graphical downgrades hurt and destroy experiences. If the game originally had released with shit graphics like Dragon Quest 9, nobody would care. But if you already had the PS2 version of Dragon Quest 8 that looked and sound really good, and then you are given the piece of shit that is the 3DS version, then of course it's going to fucking hurt. So in my opinion, the best versions are the original versions. The mobile version of Dragon Quest 8 with the remaster mode does look very good, but if you care about the extra content, maybe try the shittier versions. Who cares? But maybe you can play both versions. Maybe, just a crazy thought, maybe you could play both versions of the game. But in my opinion, these downgrades actually hurt these games a lot, and I fucking hate them.